Wow, that's strange. This is just as I was starting to want to talk about this franchise again. Let's get into it. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. So guys, The Hollywood Reporter has broke that New Line Cinema has teamed up with the writers of Saw 4, 5, 6, Saw 3D, the Saw the Final Chapter, Saw 7, whatever you want to call it, and also the creators of The Collector and The Collection franchise, as it were. If you haven't seen those movies, definitely go check those movies out, especially in the near future, because I'm going to be talking about at least the first movie in that franchise in extreme detail for an awesome project. But Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton, the writers of pretty much most of the Saw films at this point, have been attached to start developing and writing the reboot, or whatever they're going to say. I mean, reboot can mean a whole lot of different things in this day and age, but really retooling, reboot of the Final Destination horror franchise over at New Line Cinema. This is awesome, guys. First and foremost, man, Marcus and Patrick, they just kind of went away. I know they've been around and they've been doing a lot of things like kind of in the back burner, but as I've said multiple times before, the Saw franchise has really birthed a lot of prolific horror movie auteurs, I guess you could say. And obviously it's really nice to see two veterans from that series go on, and they're going to try their hand at another film franchise that kind of dealt in the same hands as the original Saw movie franchise. Like, different various deaths, always unique, always original, and just purely its own. That's why people loved the Saw franchise, and that's why people loved the Final Destination franchise. If you didn't see it already, I've put up my pitch for what I would like to see in the 6th movie. At this point right now, we're not sure whether this is going to pick up with the continuity established in the last couple movies, or if it's going to tell its own completely separate story. Of course, with the Final Destination movies, we don't really have to connect the characters and the situations from the original. You can do what almost every single one of the sequels did and just briefly mention that, oh my gosh, this has happened before and it's happening again. It's kind of well set up for that. The only problem there is, because you have to do that and because you usually end up killing a lot of your characters, there isn't that boost of nostalgia. And this is the weird thing I have here, just like my own personal opinion on this. New Line Cinema is doing this. And if you guys remember what New Line Cinema is, it's the house that Freddy built. New Line Cinema is doing this because they realize that the horror genre as of late has really started to take off in terms of audience appetite. People want to see horror movies, people are clamoring for them, and they're doing incredibly successful at the box office. And sure enough, they probably looked at the numbers coming in from Halloween 2018, Halloween 2, whatever you want to call that movie, and they saw this and they go, okay, what do we have on the back burner? What can we bring back that has any real nostalgia tick to it? And as I said, because of the formula of the Final Destination franchise, I'm wondering if that's going to even work for them. Is it possible that people are just going to show up for the name alone and the various different ways of death? Or are they going to show up if they bring back some of the past characters from some parts of the franchise? I'm not really sure whether or not people even have any nostalgic feelings to any of the characters from the franchise outside of the first one. I could go into like the numbers and how well these movies have been doing over the last couple of years. I mean, it's kind of weird that they ended up stopping with the 5th one when there was rumors a couple of years ago that they were going to film 6 and 7 back to back, and that just never really got off the ground. But these movies always made money for the studios, and they just decided to throw them off a cliff and never really think about them or talk about them again. There might have been some legal issues over there. Tell me in the comment section below if you remember anything about legal issues with this franchise, or one of the reasons they actually couldn't make the newest films in the franchise after 5. I don't know, but this is really awesome news. It's the only thing that we know about it right now. I can guarantee the wheels have started turning on this franchise because of the recent uptick in horror nostalgia or horror appetite from the general audience, and that's definitely going to push more movies like this. Really, this is the start of it. I would imagine in the next couple months, maybe even within the next year, we're going to start hearing some big horror related news coming out. As we've already heard, Legendary Pictures is kind of interested in doing more Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff, not just movies, but maybe even a television show. There's also been rumblings somewhere around how they could do another Friday the 13th and maybe turn Friday the 13th into a television show again. And then of course, Robert Englund and almost everyone seems interested in doing another Nightmare on Elm Street franchise film, whether it's going to be a reboot, they're going to bring everyone back like the Halloween movie or whatnot. They're definitely going to do another Halloween sequel. The Saw franchise isn't done yet, and I'm sure that they're going to figure out a way to bring Hannibal at some point back to the forefront. Maybe not in the movie format, but let's bring back the television show, for God's sakes. I'm just saying, we are going to start seeing a lot of these things come our way. I also forgot about Chucky. Chucky's coming back not only in a reboot, but a television show, and probably more movies connected to the original continuity of the series. So that's kind of crazy. This is the reality that we're living in, and we're going to see a lot of movies from our childhood come back, be on the big screen in a major spectacle before all of this horror nonsense kind of dies down and people go back to their lives and remember that, oh yeah, we don't really like horror, we just kind of nostalgic at this point. That's what I thought. Anyway, this is big news because Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan, I think, are incredibly talented writers. I feel like they did a whole lot of good with the Saw franchise after they took over. It was a huge, monumental mountain of a task to take over after Saw 3 because of the way Leigh Whannell ended that franchise, and I think they shepherded it to at least a serviceable storyline. I mean, obviously they had to rush the last film because of Paranormal Activity, and for whatever reason, everyone loved that movie. They rushed to it and they didn't see Saw 6, which is really a shame because Kevin Greuter, Marcus Dunstan, and Patrick Melton really brought their A game for that movie, and they made something incredibly special, at least in not only the horror genre, but also the Saw franchise, and people really need to go see that movie if they haven't. But they had to force 2 movies of storytelling into that last film with a whole lot of other things they had to do with that, and it just didn't really work out right. And I understand that that might have been really hard for them. At the same time, I think they were attached to do an Outer Limits movie that just never really panned out, and then they were going to do the God of War movie that just never really panned out. And these guys, like I said, very talented. They've had a lot of things fall through. I personally think, even though this is big news right now, it's just kind of breaking just in the last couple hours, I think that they're going to end up doing this. This is something that New Line Cinema is going to want to push pretty hard within the next year or two and get that out immediately. So I think that this one will go through. I'm really happy about this. I'm happy for them, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the table. Knowing they have that Saw cred, they can do justice for the Final Destination movies and make it real fun for the audiences and the people who actually love this franchise. So I hope everyone's really excited for that. I know I am. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. And hey guys, if you have some time, it's going to show up at the very end of this video. Go hit that link and go listen to my pitch, or at least my story idea for Final Destination 6. It takes place within the same continuity and with some of the old returning characters from the original 5 films. I think if you like the Final Destination movies at all, you would really enjoy that pitch. You can share your own in the comments section, either in this video or that video, whichever one you want. I'll be reading the comments. And if you want to talk to me more about these horror franchises that are coming up, or just the renaissance of horror anyway, go down to the description section below, hit that link, and go follow me on Twitter. I am always over on Twitter. It's so much easier to talk to you guys on Twitter than it is on YouTube, because YouTube doesn't notify me when you comment or when you reply to my comments, and it makes it really hard to have any real conversation on this platform. Much easier on Twitter. So I hope everyone will go follow me on there if you haven't already. At the same time, hope everyone's having a fantastic day. It's been real.